Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to This Week in Animation. First of all, I would just like to state that I apologize for not having shows the last couple of weeks for Halloween. This Halloween season got a little busier than I thought it would. Christ, I still have the decorations up, but that doesn't mean that we still can't have fun with animation news this week. Speaking of Halloween, I hope that you all had a very happy and safe Halloween and that you enjoyed your Halloween weekend. I personally had a very fun Halloween time, and I hope you guys did too. And there wasn't a whole lot of animation news this week. I wonder why, but it was a very slow news week on the animation side. But there is something big that I feel like we need to discuss, even though it is not related to animation. But, anyways, let's just go ahead and get things started with our first piece of animation news. The film adaptation of Bendy and the Ink Machine has found a director. Yes, there has been news going around about a movie based off of the hit indie game Bendy and the Ink Machine, and they announced previously that they were going to announce who the director will be on Halloween night, and looks like the director is Andre Overdahl, and his previous horror movies include The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So, I have not seen Last Voyage of the Demeter, and I've heard pretty mixed things about it, but I did very much enjoy Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Scary Stories also had very exaggerated designs, and with that movie being based off of a bunch of kids' books, it makes sense to have that type of design aspect. And since, while obviously Bending the Ink Machine will not be a children's movie, the designs are very much inspired by Disney and Max Fleischer, so it makes sense that like somebody with that background to come in and make this brand new hybrid film based off of the games. And again, we have no confirmation on when exactly the Bendy movie will come out, but the director seems promising. Speaking of live action adaptations, it was announced that Lego will be making three brand new films for Universal. Piece by piece, their first film with the company has been doing pretty well, and it looks like that Lego will continue to be doing more unconventional adaptations of the toys with bringing them into live action. Yes, we are going to be getting live action Lego movies in the works from Universal. I've always loved Lego. I always enjoyed playing with those toys and building things, whether it be by from the instructions or with something else. And obviously, I've very much enjoyed just about every Lego movie that has come out since the original Lego movie from 2014, with the exception of Lego Ninjago. I just didn't have any interest in it in particular. And although I will admit, I don't think any of us would ever expect a live action Lego movie because, like, at that point, it's just a movie, you know? Like, if you try and make a Lego movie that's live action, you're defeating the point of it, of like being Lego, because you're just going to use real people, unless you're like trying to make like hyper realistic CG Lego characters, which will not work at all. But regardless, they have directors attached, including Jake Kazan, Patty Jenkins, and Joe Cornish, to direct three of them for Universal. And the funny thing is, we know exactly what one of these movies is going to be already, and that is a live action Ninjago movie from the creators of Star Trek Prodigy. Interesting. Now, obviously, Ninjago has been a very successful brand for Lego. Obviously, the toys have sold like mad, and the animated series on Cartoon Network had somehow managed to last years, like over a decade somehow. And this isn't the first time that Lego adapted Ninjago on the big screen. They previously made the Lego Ninjago movie in 2017, meant to cash in on the success of the Lego movie, and it was way more interested in being the Lego movie than the Ninjago movie, where it wasn't able to achieve what Batman, the Lego Batman movie, managed to do, where it was unmistakably a Batman movie, just with extra seasoning of the Lego movie. Here they were more interested in being like the Lego movie than being an adaptation of Ninjago. From what I am able to remember, I haven't watched the Lego Ninjago movie at all. I don't know if I was busy at the time or it just did not pique my interest. It was one of the two. But now they're giving Ninjago a second chance on the big screen with a film from Kevin and Dan Hagman, who are writing the script and were known as the writers for Star Trek Prodigy, which is interesting, especially since this is not an animated adaptation of Ninjago. Now, I don't know how this movie's going to look. I don't know how any of these movies are going to look. Maybe they'll just be people. Maybe they'll look like hideous CGI abominations. I don't know. And regardless, I hope they try to make it feel like a cool Ninjago movie and not try to be like the Lego movie. Because the most recent Lego movie, Piece by Piece, it didn't try to be like the Lego movie at all, with the exception of the animation style. It felt like its own separate thing. It was more interested in being a Pharrell Williams biopic, and it worked really well for it. But we'll just see what this new Lego movie has in store along with the other two. Oh, yeah, speaking of bringing things alive that shouldn't be alive and live action adaptations that really shouldn't exist. We've known for a long time that the creators of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey would be making a Pinocchio film called Pinocchio Unstrung. And we've known about this movie for a while. However, we had just now gotten a taste on what the film will look like visually by seeing our Pinocchio. Yes, we finally got a good look at Pinocchio, which, okay, first of all, this is an awful article because they did not show us the Pinocchio. Boom! This is what Pinocchio is going to be looking like in the film. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed with this because we all know how awful Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey looked, but when the sequel came out, they had like actual creature designs. And if you look at the video that they also released, the puppet and animatronic is very expressive. Like, they really did do their homework and try to make sure that this puppet was actually good. And even the movie could be awful, but they did a damn good job in making sure that Pinocchio looked good. Pinocchio effectively looks creepy and could work in this horror movie. And, you know, I'm very interested and very intrigued to see exactly how fucked up this Pinocchio horror movie will be, because this isn't the first time someone tried to make a horror movie out of Pinocchio. Famously, there was Pinocchio's Revenge in the 90s. But yeah, it definitely looks more promising than, say, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, which just turned Peter Pan into Pennywise. But I want to know what you guys think of this cool new Pinocchio horror version, which I don't think they gave a release date for the movie, which should come out sometime in the Twisted Childhood universe. Okay, so we got a bit of an update on Disney's D23 Brazil. In particular, we now know when exactly it's going to be held. It will be held on November 8th, 9th, and the 10th, so this weekend at the Transamerica Expo Center in Sao Paulo. And what I assume it will be, it's just Disney, but in there, Brazil. Some of the event highlights will be Arena D23 by Brent Cecil Visa, Disney Moments by Claro Stage, and amazing spotlight performances from Disney Princesses, Mickey and Friends, Disney and Pixar's Toy Story, and more. We're also going to have some exhibit pavilions from Disney Plus, Disney, Pixar, Marvel Studios, Star Wars, National Geographic, ESPN, Star, the Disney Cruise Line, the Walt Disney World Resort, Games, Radio Disney, and D23 Brazil Store, and Gastronomy. And we got a little more details about the event itself. So basically, I doubt there will be big announcements at this event, because they already did a bunch of big announcement at the main D23 in Anaheim. But I assume that this will be a massive event for Disney fans in the area. Speaking of Disney, Robert Zemeckis said some very interesting things about the possibilities of making Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2. Now, for those of you unaware, Disney has been trying to make a Roger Rabbit sequel literally since the first movie came out. There have been multiple attempts to make a follow-up to this film, whether it be a prequel or a sequel, or even at one point there was going to be a buddy road trip film with Roger and Mickey, but that never happened. And every single attempt went down under. And so Robert Zemeckis had just stated that Disney would never allow Jessica Rabbit in Roger Rabbit's sequel. So why is this? Why can't Jessica be in the film? So basically, Robert Zemeckis, the director of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, went on a podcast to discuss some of his films, and he said this about the possibilities of making a Roger Rabbit sequel. There's a good script sitting at Disney, Zemeckis said, while disclosing that the film's original screenwriter, Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Sherman, already wrote a follow-up film. He further states, the current Disney would never make Roger Rabbit today. They can't make a movie with Jessica in it. Look what they did to Jessica at the theme park. They trussed her up in a trench coat. Basically, what he says is that the reason Disney can't make a Roger Rabbit sequel in the year of our Lord 2024 is because of how sexually explicit the character of Jessica Rabbit can be. given on how in the most recent revision to the Roger Rabbit ride, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin at Disneyland in Mickey's Toontown, they put Jessica in a trench coat and hat, very much resembling Dick Tracy, instead of her signature red glittery dress. Now, I understand where Robert Zemeckis is coming from. I understand how he feels that Disney being significantly more saturated than they have been, and even in previous years, because even in even when Disney greenlit Roger Rabbit, they were still primarily known as a family-friendly brand that was just starting to make mature content under the brand new Touchstone Pictures label. And Roger Rabbit was initially conceived as a straightforward Disney animated film, well, live action hybrid film, but it was changed later on to be a Touchstone Pictures release due to some of the language in the film, some of the sexual themes, and violence. Plus, if this ambitious as hell movie was a flop, then it wouldn't be synonymous with the Disney name. However, as we all know, Roger Rabbit was a massive hit, and Disney was more than proud to acknowledge the fact that they made it. However, as years would go on, and Roger Rabbit would become less present in the theme parks, things have been a little funny with the movie, and as I mentioned, the numerous attempts to make a sequel to this, and ultimately culminating in the ride eventually getting a revamp, with Jessica having much more of a prominent role and her not being in the dress. I understand where he's coming from, because like Disney does censor the weirdest things, but at this point Disney is not above making mature content, because they just released Deadpool and Wolverine, and they are proudly displaying the fact that that is a movie owned by them. They are releasing it on Disney Plus later this year, and there were tons of references to Disney in that film. Yes, the Disney logo was not attached to it, but the Disney logo is not attached to any Marvel movie, and the Disney logo was not attached to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If Disney was to release Roger Rabbit today, it would most likely be under 20th Century Studios or Searchlight, a divisions that are allowed to make those mature movies, so that they can get away with whatever they want and not have to worry about it being a Disney movie. But those are just my thoughts. I think that a Roger Rabbit sequel can still work, especially with how beloved of a character Jessica Rabbit really is. But I don't know. I didn't make the fucking movie, so I guess I can't state on that. Alright, so the 10th anniversary of the Cartoon Network miniseries Over the Garden Wall was this past week, and to celebrate, Cartoon Network teamed up with Aardman's Animations to make a 3-minute short released on Cartoon Network and Aardman's social media pages to have a brand new insight on what Greg and Wart are doing in the unknown, taking place somewhere between the series. It did have the involvement of series creator Patrick McHale, and I'm glad that like they did this instead of making like a new season or whatever, or like a reboot of it, because something cute and simple as this does not sour the reputation of the series. It doesn't suddenly take away everything that made that show great. It It is a fun bonus. You can choose to watch this as an epilogue, but it is not it is not it's necessarily ruin the original series whatsoever. It is just a fun addition, nor does it take away anything from the ending. This is just a fun, awesome, creative short that is a, that visually looks nothing like anything that Aardman has made before. Like like you can't tell just by looking at this still image that this is from the creators of Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep. Like this is truly fantastic that this is from Aardman. Like just the detail in the hat, and everything else. Oh my God, this is beautiful. But anyways, I love the short. I think the short is great. I highly recommend you guys go to Cartoon Network's social medias. It's available on all of them, and check out the short. Alrighty, to our penultimate no, it's not our penultimate news story. Moving right along, we have the live action adaptation of Bob the Builder. Is it live action? I don't think it's been officially stated. We have the Bob the Builder movie, which is coming out sometime in the near future. In order to cash in on the success of Barbie, Mattel is making a bunch of future films based off of their properties, and Bob the Builder is one of them. And for a while, Anthony Ramos was attached to play Bob, with Jennifer Lopez attached to produce. And they just got a distributor, and it will be distributed by Amazon MGM Studios. It has not been stated if Amazon will give this movie a theatrical release under the MGM umbrella, or if it will just go straight to Amazon Prime Video. But regardless, we have a distributor for the Bob the Builder movie. I have not been shy about my thoughts on the Bob the Builder movie. I think that it is interesting. I don't want to say it's going to be terrible because Barbie clearly worked really well, but I fear that they're not going to be able to make lightning strike twice and not be able to have the spark that Barbie did. Because, Barbie's themes of feminism were already attached to the brand. They're changing the race of Bob, which I'm perfectly fine with, but they're adding a whole other element, a whole other social commentary element that was not really present in the property to begin with. So it's a little interesting that they're doing this with Bob the Builder in particular. I mean, granted, I haven't. The movie's obviously not out yet, and a trailer is yet to be released. But I'll have to wait for a trailer to come out to fully critique it. But it's interesting. I'll tell you that. Okay, to our penultimate story, we got a brand new poster for the indie animated film Flow. This movie has been making its way around the films festival, including TIFF and Annecy. And we got this wonderful new poster. I love the art style of this film, and it looks to be like what everybody else thought that that the Wild Robot was going to be, because there is zero dialogue in pretty much all of the marketing that's been released, and this will just be a bunch of animals on a boat, and that's fucking awesome. So yeah, I definitely am looking forward to what this film will display, and it is going to be released worldwide in theaters on December 6th. Hell yeah, I'm gonna watch this. And finally, we got a bit of an update on Arcane Season 2. And not necessarily an update, but more of like a statement that was made about the budget of the show, and in particular, how much it costs to make not just the singular season, but the entirety of the show. It costed a grand total of $250 million to make the show, making this probably the most expensive animated series of all time. Now, granted, that's the grand total of the 18 episodes that Netflix produced, and not like $250 per episode. That would be insane, and no way they could ever make that money. There's no way anybody could ever make their money back making $200 million per episode on a TV show. I'm looking at you, Amazon. But it still does show just how much effort that the creators of Arcane want to put into this show and make it more than just a simple video game tie-in show. And I've still yet to watch Arcane. I know I need to get around to doing it eventually, but it really is impressive just what Arcane has been able to do for the animation industry. And that is it for the news, but we do have a trailer, and it is one trailer, in fact. Well, technically not a trailer, a look ahead for the future of Marvel 2025 on Disney Plus. Now, this is going to showcase all the new Disney Plus shows that are coming from Marvel in 2025, and it even showcases all of the animated shows coming out next year. So, let's just jump right into it. Okay, we got Daredevil. Ooh, Spider-Man! We got something animated. We got the Punisher and Daredevil, hell yeah. Love the suit. Suit's looking great. Alrighty. Okay. Interesting looking animation, very different. What if season 3? Was that a freaking Gundam Captain America? Zombie Captain America too. We got Wonder Man as well. Alright, Ben Kingsley's back. Eyes of Wakanda. Oh. It's good. Okay, so that was the trailer for the Marvel Studios library for Disney Plus in 2025 and even the end of 2024, because we did get confirmation that Deadpool and Wolverine will be streaming this month, I believe, on November 12th, and season 3 of What If will be coming out on December 22nd. And we also got more details in the description. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man will be released on Disney Plus on January 29th. Daredevil Born Again will come out on March 4th. Ironheart will be released on June 24th. Eyes of Wakanda releases on August 6th. And Marvel Zombies and Wonder Mans don't necessarily have release dates, but we should expect to see them in October and December, respectively. So, obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Mainly, but I'm mainly just going to focus on the animated shows in particular because this is This Week in Animation. Starting things off with What If Season 3. Now, I enjoyed the first season of What If. There were a lot of very fun concepts, but not always the best execution. And some of them I just thought was a little weak. Like, one of the episodes is literally just Thor throwing a party. That's the best you could come up with. It leads into him fighting Captain Marvel somehow. And, it's obviously a cool fight. But it just seemed like a random way to get there. But, the episodes that I did enjoy of the first two seasons, I thought were really strong. The Christmas episode in season 2 was pretty fun. I thought it was entirely stupid how they marketed the entire season around that singular episode. Even though, just one Christmas episode shouldn't make the whole season Christmas. That's not how this works. If that's the case, then, every season of Family Guy in the last 15 years is a Christmas season. But, regardless, What If I think it's still a very enjoyable show, and apparently season 3 is going to be the last season, so we'll see how this comes to light. And now, moving forward to Spider. Oh, we just lost it. Okay, to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I think that the animation in this show, because that's mainly what this trailer showcases, is how different the animation is compared to not just most Spider-Man shows, but MCU shows in particular. Because the animation, I'd like to say, it kind of reminds me of a bit of a more refined, a bit more of a refined version of the 2003 Spider-Man series that aired on MTV and had Neil Patrick Harris as Spider-Man, at least when it's moving. Obviously, it very much is trying to resemble Silver Age comic book designs, but, I can also see a little bit of Spectacular Spider-Man influence in the animation, and it's not bad animation by any means. I just think it could use a little more polishing. Yes, it's there, it just looks a little too fake, if you know what I mean. There's a lot more cell shading, but it's still not bad animation. I did like the comic panels effects, like that I really do enjoy. And I find it interesting how this show in general is going to act more like like a series long What If episode instead of just the prequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. But it is interesting to see what they're going to do with the show. Obviously, we all want to see Peter Parker's story in the MCU continue and not go backwards, but hey, baby steps, baby steps. We're still getting Spider-Man 4 eventually. On to the remaining two animated shows. We got Eyes of Wakanda, which, honestly, where is that show? Where is Eyes of Wakanda? There it is. I really love this animation. This looks sick as hell. And it is, again, very different from the What If style. And it is very much unapologetically CGI animation. But it's trying to look like hand-drawn in the same way. But, I don't know. It's something that, I haven't really seen in a Marvel animated series before. Or really much of anything lately. There's not really much I can compare this to. And I love how it's going to be an anthology series about Wakanda. And hopefully it will stick with being an anthology series and not trying to have like recurring characters like what If does, which kind of defeats the purpose of it being an anthology series. And finally, in terms of animation, we got Marvel Zombies, which, oh my god, this is going to be so fun because we got fucking Blade. We got Blade in the MCU. Our very first look at what Blade will look like in the MCU, even though this is just an alternate universe, and it is unknown if Mahershala Ali will be voicing the character. And also, we got real blood this time, and not that black goo bullshit that we got in the What If episode. We got blood this time around. We also know that Yelena's gonna be in the show. And did she just murder zombie Natasha? I think that's either Natasha or the Wasp, one of the two. But that's fucking crazy. And apparently, Zombie Cap is back, even though I'm pretty sure he died in the What If episode. But oh my god, yeah, the Marvel Zombies episode of What If was what had its problems, but was still overall fun. I hope that the Marvel Zombies series contains the tone, not necessarily the tone of a Marvel movie, but rather the tone of the Marvel Zombies comics, which gets very dark and very fucked up, especially to see what happens to some of your favorite heroes. Like, if you ever. Because, like, what makes the concept of Marvel Zombies so interesting is not just, oh, look, it's superheroes as zombies. It's that, like, the zombie superheroes still have their powers, and that makes, like. And, that makes, like, a zombie apocalypse 10 times scary when, say, the zombie suddenly has the power of a god or the power of a radioactive monster or stuff like that. And yeah, I'm glad that like we get to have like the series has been confirmed to be TVMA, and I'm glad that we're going to get like actual gore, and it's going to be a very very fun Halloween show. And it's coming out just in time for Halloween in October, so we have to wait an entire year to watch it, but it looks to be very fun and very enjoyable. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Marvel animated trailer. What do you guys think of them in the comments below? And guys, that is it for the animation news portion of the video. And normally at this point of the time, I would tell you about some animated projects that are coming out this week. And then I would end things off by giving you updates on my YouTube channels. I'm not going to do that this week because I feel like there are far more important things to be talking about than what movies are coming out this week or what's going on with the channel. For those of you who have been living under a rock, you might have noticed that the election was yesterday, and you might have noticed who won. Now, I remember back during the 2020 election where, because it lasted several more days due to pretty much everybody sending in their ballots through the mail, a lot of people were very much on edge about who was going to win that election. And we were relieved when we found out that ultimately good triumphed over evil. And now, fast forward 4 years later, the vote was seemingly neck and neck for a while before suddenly good did not win over evil this time around. It is going to be a very scary time for a lot of us. I know several people, and I have several friends that are going to be affected by this new presidency horribly. If what he says is true, then what we know as democracy and what we know as this country is going to be going down the shitter. However, there's always going to be a bright side. And this new president is not going to be the hero that a lot of people have been saying, a lot of certain people. And at this point, in us being aware of this man and what he has said and what he has and what he has done, what has been 1000% confirmed about him and is what's been said from him. For the people who knew all of that, knew about his criminal charges, knew about his felonies, knew about all the horribly racist things that he has said as recent as a few months ago, and as going all the way back to the 1980s, to all the people who still voted for him after all of that, simply so they could pay a little less for groceries. You guys can politely go fuck yourself. You guys can enjoy a very special seat in the fiery pits of hell. And you guys can enjoy watching this country burn to the ground. However, I know for a fact that this country has gone through either stuff just as bad or even worse. Because if there's anything worse than this man, then it's his followers. But I know that things are going to be bad. And I have the right to be worried as a low-income autistic man with anxiety and depression. Yeah, I have the right to be worried for myself under this new leadership. Even if the one thing he said that seemed good. Like, think of the gas prices, guys. Literally everything else about this man is terrible, but the gas prices. We've been through worse. We can get through this. This country is filled with some of the strongest individuals that I have ever met. It is filled with strong, kind, hard-working people that know better. And the people that know better voted for the one who lost. The people that clearly knew what was at stake, but still voted for the other guy. They can all fuck off. They can all politely, please leave this channel. Please unfollow me on all platforms if you are a supporter of this man. Then I do not want to speak with you. My respect for you does not exist if you voted for Donald James Trump. you can politely suck my fucking cock.